Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're here with another Jazz Matters podcast, and today's special guest, of course, is the great Keith Davis, pianist extraordinaire.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Thank
of
you,
course,
brother.
we're here with Vaughn Coulter, of course, our co-host and everything, over at Jazz Beats Radio. And what we want you to do is subscribe and like us. You can go to yesjazzmatters.org. That's yesjazzmatters.org. And you can subscribe. You can also find out all the information you need to find out about Jazz Matters, which is a 501c3. We are nonprofit, so we do work with donations. And we also have, once you're on the site, you can also visit our Jazz Matters store, where we sell apparel pertaining to jazz with different quotes and so forth. And we have Jazz Matters t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, cups. You know, we're looking to find many other things we can put on there. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And like I said, we're here with Keith Davis, pianist. And we're going to go ahead, Keith, for the people that don't know you, just let them know who you are, where you're from, and how you got started in this music business.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, let me say thank you. Edwin and I have known each other for more than 30 years, I think, but close to 40 years. It's been a long. We hadn't even seen each other for years, so
Yeah,
I'm very probably 40 years, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm very pleased, and I was very flattered and pleased that he asked me to do this. So and we hadn't seen each other until today. We hadn't seen each other for a long time. So it's real. Thank you so much for thinking of me, man. I'm an Air Force brat, born in Savannah, but I'm from Atlanta or Jonesboro, Georgia, which is near Atlanta. But I grew up on Air Force bases most of my early life. But besides being in the Air Force, my dad was also a church choir director. They would find a church wherever they went. He would find direct music, and my mom would usually play the piano. So like little Southern Baptist churches, you know. So that's how I was first exposed to music, I guess. And they were big music lovers, my parents, you know, like especially my dad was really into country music. And funny, later I actually found a Duke Ellington record in his record collection, so that was kind of interesting. You know?
Yeah, but different kind of country feel.
Yeah, right, different kind of country, right.
But I know that even back in the day when we first hooked up as musicians, we did actually started out doing duo stuff, right?
Doing what was it?
We were doing duos. It was just
I think we did some duo.
Yeah. For a good while.
One of my favorite things to do, man, just piano and bass. I mean, that's one of my favorite things to do, actually, you know.
Right, and the thing is, and at that time, you know, we were, I think there was a place that we were doing the duo that was a Georgia Pacific building.
Was that place called Knickerbockers?
That was one of them, but we also did. There was a place called. It was right across the street, as a matter of fact, from the Georgia Pacific. We did them both, you know.
Yeah.
It's been so long ago, you know, and it's kind of a shame that, you know, nothing like that really exists anymore in town.
Yeah, it's hard to find gigs like that, man.
Yeah, you know? But you know, in your during your career, you want to find out really, you know, who influenced you in the jazz world, and when you started paying more attention to jazz, who were some of the people that you were actually listening to?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I sort of always knew. I mean, I always knew I was going to be a musician. I guess I always knew that, you know. But I didn't know anything about jazz. I actually had one teacher. We lived in Arizona when I was from like 10 to 14 or close to 15 years old. And I had one teacher. She was a good teacher, and she said I should learn jazz. And I was like, well, I don't want to learn jazz. I want to learn ragtime. It was right about that time that movie The Sting came out with all that Scott Joplin music.
Right.
And I got really into trying to learn that music. I never got to where I could play it that well, but I could play some of it, you know. And I didn't even know what jazz was, but I do remember my mom used to take us to the library in town, the public library. And I think I vaguely remember bringing home a Thelonious Monk record from the library and listening to it and going like, what in the heck is that, you know? and I actually remember one time when I was a kid too, seeing the Modern Jazz Quartet on TV and just going like, wow, thinking like, that is really cool, man. I really like that. But, you know, it just wasn't part of my world. So I didn't know like what to do about finding it. I didn't even know what it was, you know? I just was like, man, that's really cool. I like that, you know. But I guess I was so young that I didn't think to go like, okay, what is that? Let me track that down and figure out what it is, you know. But after my dad retired, I was almost 15. We moved back to Georgia, and I started like searching around for what am I going to do musically, you know. And then my cousin next door was really into like pop jazz, sort of like Chuck Mangione and the Crusaders, and you know, that really cool, nice sort of early fusion jazz, I guess you'd call it, you know, or, you know, he was into stuff like that. And Steely Dan, I got turned on to a lot of cool music by my cousin. So then I started to think about jazz, and then I started to look into it, you know. I went and saw Chuck Mangione, and I bought some records, and I started looking for a teacher that could teach me something about it. I finally found a teacher in Atlanta. My first teacher was named, God, it's embarrassing. I can't think of her name right off, but she was a student of Ted Howe, who you know, Ted Howe. Donna Banks, that was her name. Donna was my first jazz teacher. I was probably 16. I was 16, you know, and maybe 15, I think 16. And then I studied with her for a while, and then she sent me to Ted, and I studied with Ted for like 3 years. And in the meantime, you know, one of the first things I did was, father's house. One of the first things I did was buy a book of jazz history and read it, you know. I thought, well, if I'm going to get into this, I should know about it, you know. So I bought this jazz history book and I read it, and then it gave me a real good background, you know. And then once I started getting into playing jazz piano, I would go out on Sundays. My parents would let me borrow the car and go to Atlanta. I'd go in all the record stores and I'd find all the jazz piano records I could, like solo, especially solo piano. I was really fascinated by the solo jazz piano, you know. So I started going and searching out all the record stores, and you know, that's how I sort of got started at it, you know.
Because I know that when by the time we got together, it seemed like your style was a little more like, I guess I would say, a cross between Bill Evans and let's say McCoy Tyner to a point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I got really into the McCoy and Bill Evans, but really my first love, I think, was actually one of the first jazz records I ever bought was Bill Evans, Since We Met, and a Chick Corea record called My Spanish Heart. Same day I bought them both at remember Peach's Records on Peachtree Street?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's where I bought both those records the same day, and I went home. They next door were having a pool party, and they let me put Bill Evans on the stereo, you know, at the outdoors at the pool party. And I was listening to that, and I was like, man, wow. I was like, what is that, man? That really got me, you know. So Bill was certainly one of my early loves, and also Bud Powell. I got really into Bud Powell, man. Yeah. I learned a Bud Powell solo, but I still listen to Bud. In fact, I got this biography of him that I'm reading. I've been reading for a long time. I'll just read a little bit, but I really love Bud, and I still do, you know.
Oh yeah.
And McCoy, of course, McCoy. I mean, you know, first time I heard "A Love Supreme," I was like, "What in the hell, man?" It's mind blowing, you know. I mean, it still is, man. Still put it on and go like, God, where did that come from, you know?
Yeah, we just lost boy just last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was we quite a few of them passed last year. You know?
Yeah, that's true, man. That's right. I mean, we just lost Gary Peacock a few weeks ago, man. One of my favorite, all-time favorite musicians, you know.
Right, and I understand that Keith Jarrett was a little down also.
Yeah, he can't play.
Right.
He had a couple strokes. He can't play, man. That's,
right.
I mean, those two guys, you know, after Bill, I mean, about the same time, I guess, I discovered Keith Jarrett, and that really blew my mind, you know. Those trio records, those early trio records, the standard trio. But also, you know, one of my favorite records, in fact, I'm looking at the CD right now. I've noticed I saw it. It's Gary Peacock, Tales of Another. Yeah. Are you familiar with that record?
Yeah.
Same trio, but it's Gary's music, you know.
Right.
And it was 1975, I believe. and just that record still blows my mind. It's amazing. In fact, like I said, I'm looking at it on the CD rack right there. That still is one of my favorite records of all time. But you know what? Because I listen to so many different people, I like, I got really into listening to I love Teddy Wilson, man.
Yeah.
Beautiful and elegant, And
Yeah,
I also, and one of my favorites, one of my favorites though, still to this day is Jimmy Rolls, man. I just fell in love with Jimmy Rolls. I think I have every record or CD of Jimmy Rolls. There might not, I'm sure I'm missing a few,
Right.
but I just really love Jimmy Rolls. I just love the groove that he gets and the sense of humor and the economy and just the harmonic, like he wasn't afraid to take chances,
Yeah.
And you can hear the influences. He came out of the swing stuff, but he took that lessons from Bud Powell and Monk, especially. He made his own thing out of that stuff. I really admire Jimmy Rolls, man.
Yeah, man. You take a lot of the like there was one other piano player that we lost also. We lost him way early in the year. 2019.
Herbie?
Onaje Allen Gums.
I'm sorry, I'm losing you a little bit. Were you talking about Herbie?
No. I was talking about another piano player that we lost, which was Onaje Allen Gums.
Oh yeah, Onaje, man. I saw him play with Dexter Gordon years ago, man.
Yeah.
I got to see Dexter Gordon twice in Atlanta while he was still alive, man. Once he was with Woody Shaw, man.
Yeah, he was.
Believe that?
I think that was the last. Woody was probably one of the groups he was with before he started doing a lot of production work for commercial stuff. Like he did some stuff with Phyllis Hyman and people like that.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we lost him too, man. Like I said, it was a lot of them, man.
Yeah, we lost a lot of people last year.
Anyway, Vaughn is over there at Jazz Beats Radio, and Vaughn plays all kinds of music.
Oh, cool, man.
And he has, of course, a jazz bass in his stuff. He goes everything from, acoustic jazz to smooth jazz.
Okay.
So, Vaughn, go ahead and jump in this conversation right quick.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today, man.
Thank you, man.
I'm fascinated that you would experiment at the beginnings of your career in some stride piano. You really challenge yourself at an early age.
Yeah, I'm not really good at it. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm an expert at it, but I incorporate some of that. I can reach a tenth on most of them. I can't. I have a trouble on D flat, but I can. Actually, you know what? You might like this story, man. This is a kind of good story. There was a guy down in Savannah. I didn't grow up in Savannah, but when I was about, I was in my first road band was the Glenn Miller Band. I was about 23 or 24 years old. I went on the road with the Glenn Miller Band. And one of my buddies on the band was a trumpet player named Billy Spencer, and he lived in Savannah. And so I was in Atlanta. So when we got back off the road, I started going down to visit him. He'd get us a gig, or I'd just go down there and hang out. And there was this great piano player named Joe Jones in Savannah. I mean, just a really old school, really good piano player, And one of the things that I idolized him, and we sort of took to each other. He sort of, I mean, I wouldn't say I didn't take lessons from him or anything, but I would go hear him play and I would ask him questions. And one time I was at a gig and he was playing, and after the gig was over, I said, "Man, you should learn this. I'm going to show you." That's what he showed me. He said, "You should learn how to do this, man." It's like Errol Garner, right?
Right.
But it's like, it's what it is like basically stride piano. If you're doing those roots with a tenth and like playing the third and seventh on the guide tones, So Joe turned me onto that. I must have been early 20s, and that really that was a huge lesson for me, And I've always tried to incorporate that into my playing. I mean, that's one of. In fact, Bill did the same thing. Bill was into that. I'm looking at some books about Bill Evans and his harmony. And the guy that wrote the book said that's what Bill would do. He would take a tune and he would break it down to the root and the guide tones, and start from there, and then build his arrangement on top of that.
Yeah.
So it's really important for piano players. I try to show my students this stuff. When they get to the point where they can handle it, think about it. You know what I mean? But,
so Vaughn, go ahead, because I was cutting right into.
Oh, I was going to ask him about. No, it's okay. I appreciate you giving us a little bit of an instruction on what you know, how things have moved forward in what you're doing. What's teaching like at Furman University? Are you still at Furman right now?
Well, I am, but you know, because of this COVID thing, I haven't had many students. I mean, I'm just an adjunct, so I just teach private lessons mainly. You know, I didn't have any students at all last semester. I did teach a beginning freshman. I teach like a freshman keyboard class in the fall. So I taught 2 1-hour classes. I'll just teach the freshman keyboards about improvisation. Basically, that's what I do. I have 2 1-hour classes about beginning improvisation. So, but I just have 1 student this semester. I also teach in the summer. Usually, I have like 4 or 5 students, you know, during the semester. But they're not usually. Most of them are not really pianists. They're just other instrumentalists who want to learn about jazz harmony, you know. So, because we don't really have we don't have a real jazz program per se. I mean, we have a big band and some combos, and we do private lessons, but we don't have a degree. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's more classically focused. But we do have like I said, a big band, and there is some. We have a summer jazz camp now, so we do have some things like that. You know, I also teach in the summer. I teach the history of jazz course in the summer semester, and which is always fun. You know, and I also teach in May. I teach a Tai Chi class for 3 weeks. It's just like a beginning Tai Chi class. I do Tai Chi and martial arts, a little bit of martial arts and stuff too. So I have a 3-week Tai Chi class, and they call it May Experience. So I love teaching Tai Chi when I get an opportunity as well. So
yeah, well, it's pretty much the mental aspects of it is pretty much the same. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
you know what? I tell people I learned a lot about teaching music from my Tai Chi teachers because of the way that they teach Tai Chi. You know what I mean? You really have to think about fundamentals. You know.
Right.
And it really helped me become a better teacher, I think.
Right, because I think when we first met, I let you know that I was a martial artist also.
Yeah, right. I remember we talked about that a lot. Yeah.
And we, and that's why I think I told you even back then that it was relatively the same way of learning. You know.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. And if you can get into one, you can really get into the other because of the focus.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah.
And you know it's a beneficiary thing. You know,
absolutely. It's great for your health.
It's in a lot of ways. Yeah. Even when you're on stage, you know.
Yeah.
On stage. But what you got any new recording projects or anything we can find? Because I know that.
Well, I got 3 CDs. I put out 3 CDs. The first one was called Still. That was in 2013 or 14, I can't remember. And then I did a solo piano CD, which is called Presence, and I did that that was like the year after the first trio. I can't 15 or 16. And then just last year, well, not last year now, it was December of 2019. Actually, we recorded in August. I did another trio CD. It's all original music. All my CDs are all original music, actually. I write and I have a trio that I've had for about 7 or 8 years now, 8 years, I guess. Really nice trio, man. Ron Brindle on bass and Justin Watt on drums. And they're just, you know, the first time we did a gig together, it was like a commercial gig, and we're just playing in this. We just looked at each other and went like, dang, we need to keep doing this, you know? Just one of those things like you go like, okay, this is it, you know? And so we've made these 2 trio CDs. And we're going to do another one at some point. We'll do another one. Right now, you know, gigs are, as you know, they're scarce. I got this piano. I got the Steinway, this beautiful 1918 Steinway just 2 years ago. And I'm going to do some, I want to do some more videos on this. I just had it fully renovated. I've been having it worked on for 2 years, but I finally got somebody that's like a really master tech that really went over it and really fixed it up the way it's supposed to be. So it's really beautiful. I'm fortunate to have this beautiful instrument. So I'm going to do some more videos and maybe some audio recordings here too. But besides the CDs, I'm going to do another recording project. I'm just not quite ready for it yet, but I'm still trying to write some new material for it. But I've also made a teaching video course that's on my website. It's called Practical Piano, and it's just very beginning improvisation for keyboardists. And it's not just for piano players. It could be for any instrumentalist. You know, it's just real basic triad harmony to begin with. You know, 1, 4, 5 chords, and it's about 12 or 13, 14 videos. I'm going to continue doing that too. I'm going to add to that series too. Now that I got the piano fixed up, I'm going to, you know, make some more series to go with that course. But I'm available to teach online. You know, I've done lots of live videos actually during this COVID. I got a friend that also has a beautiful Steinway. I did a lot of just live playing in his house their house during that whole COVID adventure, you know, and I put out a lot of videos on YouTube and stuff like that. I'm going to do more of that type of stuff. So, and hopefully with the trio, we're going to do some trio recording. This is interesting. I'll just say this while we're talking. My friend who I just mentioned, they have a music museum here in Greenville, and it's called the Sigel Music Museum, and it's antique harpsichords and pianos is the focus of it. They have other kind of instruments too, but mainly it's antique harpsichords and pianos, and it's really pretty fascinating. Yeah. But they also have a 9-foot Steinway D, and they do live performances, and they've started doing recordings of the performances. Of course, I mean, we're not doing performances now, but they've now have the capability to record live. So I'm going to do some video recording in there and put that stuff out too.
Now, on the what about doing? Have you thought about getting into any of the commercial type of what they're calling smooth jazz or anything like that?
I try to make my playing as smooth as possible, man.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. That's the best way to do it. It is always there.
In other words, you've always played smooth jazz, right?
Yeah. That was jazz. That was jazz right there, because that was spontaneous.
Definitely jazz.
That was jazz.
Yeah, and, you know, it kind of probably went over somebody's head, but I understand what was happening.
No, but you know what? Man. I am lucky. I have a solo piano gig at a hotel. I've been playing at this hotel for over 10 years, you know. I was just doing 1 night a week, but now I'm doing 3 nights a week, and I play in the lobby. And, you know, I play all kind of music in there, man. I don't just play standards and jazz tunes. I play pop tunes. You know, I play something by, Wichita Lineman by Glenn Campbell, and I play all kind of tunes, pop tunes, you know. I do some, if you want me to stay more than just, you know what I mean? I do all kind of, Sly Stone. I do all kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah, Keith, I didn't even know you could sing, man.
What's that?
All this time, and I didn't know you were singing.
I'm not a singer, man. That was a little. That was fake. That was a fake thing, man.
Okay, I got it. That was fake. Cool. All right.
My next one to learn is just be thankful for what you got. I've got that song stuck in my head this week.
Wow,
on a loop in my head, man.
Yeah.
William Devane. I didn't know it was William Devane. I didn't even know that name. I looked him up, and I've just got that song on a loop in my head right now, man.
Okay, then. Well, we'll get you on next time, and we'll hear you sing a little bit of that. Because Vaughn, since he has such a diverse cross-section on his radio show, Vaughn definitely can, you guys can really get together and come up with some stuff.
We can definitely get together.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's my byline on my show is that jazz ain't nothing but soul anyway. So, you know.
Yeah,
that's what it appeals to me.
I mean,
all it is soul.
If you can't play groove music, how are you going to play jazz, man? You know? Seriously, man. You know, if you can't play a groove, how can you play jazz, man? You know.
Right.
I mean, unless you're just going to honk. I mean, you can honk and squeak, you know. But
yeah, that's exactly what it is. But a lot of times,
it's the same thing. If you can't play gospel, you can't play jazz. You know.
I'm not the best gospel player, but I do my best when I have an opportunity. You know.
Right.
You know?
Got it.
But yeah, the groove is what it's all about, honest to me. You know.
I mean, what it's all about.
You know, basic hearing. I think I got that from church. You know, my mom told me before she passed, she told me I started singing harmony when I was 5 years old, because my dad sang tenor and my mom sang alto. In fact, when I was a kid, when I was in Arizona, I sang in church with my dad in a gospel quartet. You know, so I grew up singing in church choirs as well. I mean, I always did that. You know,
so you'd always hear the vocal harmonies and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I hear that. If you can hear harmony, you know, that's something, you know, I think a lot of people miss in their, you know, nowadays, you know, you miss that, you know.
I'm glad you say that, because I used to have that conversation with people. I was like, with the gospel music that is, dealing with today, nobody's doing harmony. And,
the harmony. Right.
And I was like, what happened?
What I'm saying? You're right, man. I mean, I feel, and I didn't grow up taking my kids to church. In fact, I tell people I'm a recovering Southern Baptist.
Okay.
In fact, my religion is Southern Baptist, man.
Okay. That was a good one.
I'm a Southern Baptist through and through, man.
There you go.
But if you can hear that harmony, it comes from the harmony. That's why I teach. That's why, even these classical musicians at Furman that come to me for lessons, I make them learn like, and then I make them start learning how to improvise over that. Can you play me something over that? You know what I mean? Start there, and
There's a piano player out now that's moving around circles a lot by the name of Robert Glasper.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm well aware of Robert Glasper.
And he moves he has that sense. It's almost as if you can tell that he came from that church environment.
Yeah.
When he does his jazz stuff, because I hear the voicing that he's doing, and he's making it up on his keyboard. That's kind of cool. It keeps it real soulful,
Yeah. He's an amazing pianist, man. I mean, he's something else, man.
Yeah, he's a good piano player.
Yeah, there's some really, people that I really actually. I just lost a friend a few weeks ago. Frank Kimbrough was one of my friends. Just passed away on December 30th, and I actually got a grant from my city arts council, and went up to New York and studied with him in 2015. I had a couple of long lessons, hangs with him, and just a beautiful guy, man. And I was developing a friendship with him. My bass player Ron went to college with him, and he's known him forever, And they did a couple of recordings together, a couple of CDs together, actually. But that's a big lot. He was playing with Maria Schneider's band in New York, and he was playing with the Gil Evans project in New York, as well as all kind of other stuff. In fact, he just put out a quartet recording of all complete Thelonious Monk tunes. Just came out, I guess 2 years ago. Every one of them, like 70 something tunes, like a 6 CD set of all Monk's tunes, man.
Okay.
It's got Rufus Reed on bass and Billy drums. I think it's Billy Drummond. Just killer, man. Anyway, somebody else we lost. That's real important to me. But
so I know that when you get back to when we can see the light, so to say.
Yeah.
Once things calm down and we can get back into the music. I was reaching out. I think it was. It might have been before all this stuff hit. Because I've seen some posts that you had done, and I said I got to catch up with Keith. I said,
man.
Then I had to remember. I said, well, Keith might not even remember who I am. But then again,
no. You know what? What's funny? I was just thinking about you before you contacted me. I had just been thinking about you like the previous week, and when you contacted me, I was like, man, we must be on the same wavelength or something. I had just been thinking about you. I don't know what it was that made me think about you, but something made me think about you. And I thought about you a lot over the years, of course, But something just made me think about you recently before you called me a couple weeks ago.
Because I had in mind to get you and your group down here to do some of the concerts that we were having.
Come play, man. In fact, you and I should do some duos again, man. It's been a long time.
Yeah, that's been a while, and that's a good thing that you said that. We'll work that up.
Maybe I'll have you come up and play something with me at the museum up here sometime, man.
Yeah.
When we get going again, when it gets open again.
Right, when you get it, right, exactly. And so that won't be a problem. But I know that Vaughn is itching to jump in, so go ahead, Vaughn, and go ahead and jump in.
Well, I mean, I was just thinking about the museum you just mentioned just a second ago, and you talked about wow, that's quite a collection of instruments that they still have available to see.
It is amazing, man.
How long has the museum been there?
Yeah, they just opened it, I guess, a couple years ago. But my friend Tom, his name's Tom Strange, he's been collecting these instruments for years. In fact, I went down to his house last night. I took my girlfriend. We went down and had dinner with him and his wife last night. And he still got a lot of these instruments in his house. But his house was they had to open a museum because they had so many instruments in their house. And then they got this
Wow.
big storage space. They probably got 100 antique instruments in this huge storage space, you know. And he not only collects them, but he rebuilds them and he fixes them up, you know, refurbishes them, and you know, I mean, it's really pretty amazing, you know, to see what he's put into this. In fact, last night he was, you know, I've seen this stuff all before, you know, I've seen it many times, but my girlfriend had never been down there before, and he was showing her around a little bit. He's got a harpsichord built in the 1500s, man.
Really?
In his house that still works, it's still
Wow.
functional.
It's
You know?
functional. Oh wow.
I mean, it's unreal, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. I was getting ready to ask.
And I happen to love the harpsichord.
Yeah,
I think it's a great instrument.
It is, man. It's beautiful.
It's so funny because it just reminds you so much. Because I'm a big film fanatic, and every time it's a given, you hear a harpsichord in a British film for some reason. It just that
nice.
is a true British instrument.
Yeah.
But I think it would be challenging to use a harpsichord in jazz. I think that would be a great sound.
Well, you know, Keith Jarrett recorded an album on harpsichord. I don't think it's jazz. You know what? I can't remember if I've even heard this album, man. I need to, if I haven't, I should. But I've played some of his harpsichords, and it's interesting to play them. I mean, I don't know how well it would adapt to like a jazz group, just because it's a completely different kind of vibe. You know what I mean? But as far as just approaching it as like an instrument that you could do some improvisational music on, certainly, you know. And it sort of brings some different things out because it's a completely different thing. It feels it's completely different from the piano. I mean, the only thing they have in common is that they have keyboard. That's really the only thing they have in common, you know.
You know what? It sounds like, you know, it sounds like it. And I was just thinking when you were talking, that gave me an idea. I said, now that sounds like something I can use in alternative jazz, you know, in alternative electric jazz.
Yeah, there you go.
Because what's his name was really good at doing things like that, Joe Zawinul.
Oh yeah, yes, sure, man.
And see, it's just a matter of, you know, putting it in that sequence of what's around you, whatever is around you. If you got other guys that can deal with that, you know, you're gonna probably come up with something pretty cool. That's for sure, you know. But yeah, I can see it actually working in more of the like I said, the jazz that is not just straight ahead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know, with that electronic edge on it, or
that's an interesting thought, you know.
Yeah. That would be nice.
Think about that.
You know, but I know that also, like when me and Vaughn speak a lot of times, we have, you know, these concepts and ideas that I throw at him. You know what I'm saying, about things that I want to do in the future. So, see, in other words, as far as I'm concerned, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, right, sure.
And I'm like down pretty much for experimenting music in all kinds of formats. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
And so it doesn't have to be restricted. The only problem I have right now, I see that, you know, when you listen to music on the radio, it's pretty much restricted. You're in a box. You're either doing smooth jazz, or you're doing straight ahead, or you're doing pop, or you're doing, you know what I'm saying? And you don't hear almost like a world music concept of music being played.
Yeah, I was thinking about this last night actually. With what was I talking to my girlfriend about? Talking about somebody that incorporates world. Oh, we were talking about David Byrne. We were listening to some David Byrne music, you know, like Talking Heads, you know. And I was really hearing a lot of, you know, he's put out a couple of collections of Brazilian music. You know, he's got like 3 or 4 CDs where he collected all this samba music from Brazil. You know, he's like a really forward-thinking guy, and his music is very much influenced by world music. You know, and that's something I'm going to think about a little more. And I think, you know, some other pop people too, like Paul Simon, certainly he's incorporated some of those elements. Sting, I mean, you know, there's a lot of people draw from those influences, but like you said, I think in the jazz world it gets compartmentalized. You know, it's often like you're either doing this or you're doing this or you're doing this.
Right.
So, but and maybe I'm guilty of that too. I don't know. I mean, I just play the piano. I mean, I don't. But you know, I studied Indian music for a while. I studied tablas for several years too. I don't really play them because it's just too demanding, you know.
Right.
But I didn't have time to really learn it, you know. I mean, I was, you know, if you're gonna play the tablas, you got to play them a couple hours every day, you know.
But yeah, I know. I got a friend here, He's Imran Kotai. He's from Turkey. He plays tabla pretty good. You know?
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, he's great. He usually infuses. His real big thing is like, of course, by him being from Turkey, he uses all those rhythms. He uses all those rhythms, you know, of course, from the eastern part and Middle East. And then his passion, though, is Afro-Cuban music and Brazilian music.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he melds all that together, you know, when he plays.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
He's a great musician. You know,
yeah.
Real good musician.
It's funny you should say Emra right there, because yesterday I just happened to be going through some of this. I came across his one of his albums he did early on, and when he was performing live at the Atlanta Jazz Festivals, and I just fell in love with him all over again, because he's turning into a multi-instrumentalist. I mean, he's doing things with percussion, and he's doing renditions of Maiden Voyage and Afro Blue, all on his own. You know, he's playing all the instrumentations and percussions, guitar, bass, piano.
Wow, nice.
And it's remarkable to watch. And all of these different rhythms are just compelling. You know, he's coming from all different directions with it. And I'm just so impressed with that guy. You know,
he's one of the nicest guys you can meet, man. Yeah, he's definitely one of the nicest guys you can meet. And,
nice,
and he'll work, you know, all you got to do is tell him where you are, and he'll be there.
Yeah, nice,
yeah. I think he's teaching at one of the schools here, Agnes Scott.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's teaching over
educator,
there.
Right?
Right. Yeah, he's teaching over there.
Yeah, one of my old teachers used to teach there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I really like Latin music too. You know, I like Afro. I played in a Latin jazz band for a long time here. I mean, I guess we're still sort of loosely together. We just haven't done anything for a couple of years. But we played in the Savannah Jazz Festival. It's called Conclave, 6-piece Latin jazz band with a vibraphone and sax and 2 percussionists and bass and piano. Right. And I love that stuff. But I really love Brazilian music, man. I really love it. You know.
Right.
And I heavily involve a lot of Brazilian music in my radio show.
Oh yeah.
You know, some remarkable players in the history of bossa nova. It's still a wealth of knowledge to learn about that music, samba.
Oh yeah, sure, man.
And you know, it's just a great sound, and
you know, beautiful, man.
I'm still going through the history, like with Milton Nascimento and Jorge Dalto and all the Ivan Lins. I mean, these guys.
Yeah, sure.
And you'll be surprised. And you know, Edwin and I have talked about songwriters. You'd be surprised at the number of hits that have come over into the mainland here in the United States from Brazil that have been just like incredible hits, and they've been written by Brazilian songwriters.
Man. Yeah, sure, man. Yeah. You know, Milton, speaking of forward-looking people, man, look at Wayne Shorter, man, who's still out there doing it. And he had Milton on one of his records back in the 70s or 80s, man.
Yeah.
You know? And I really love Elise Regina. And I wrote a song for her. Actually, it's on my first CD. I wrote a tune in honor of her, you know, it's like it's a samba, basically, you know. But I really love her singing, man. And her and Joe Beam, that record they did together, with, you know, just real simple record they did together. God, man, just that kind of stuff just blows my mind, you know.
Yeah.
Man, so did
you know what? This is another thing I'm gonna tell you, man. Since we're talking about music, I got to see Paul McCartney live for free. Not last year, but year before. I was playing at the hotel one night, and there's this group of people sitting at the bar, all dressed in black, you know. And I take a break, and I go to the bar, and this older fellow, he goes, he's a British guy. Oh, can I buy you a beer? I said, well, sure. And so he buys me a beer, and we start talking. I go sit with him, and you know, eventually he buys me another beer. We're just talking, you know. And I saw he had like a pass or something, and I said Paul McCartney. I didn't even know Paul was playing in town, you know. And I said, what are you guys doing? He goes, well, I'm the tour manager for Paul McCartney. And I was like, oh no, cool, man. I said, I was really loved Paul McCartney when I was growing up, the Beatles, but particularly Paul McCartney at that stage. That was when he had his own solo stuff going on. And I remember trying to learn some of those songs on the piano. Anyway, so we're talking. He goes, well, what are you doing tomorrow night? And I said, well, nothing. He goes, well, you want to go see Paul McCartney? And I was like, well, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. No, I was kind of kidding. I was like, yeah, hell yeah. So he gave me 2 free tickets, man. I sat about 100 feet from Paul McCartney, stage level off to the side. I was about 100 feet from Paul McCartney, man.
Oh, okay.
And it was just mind-blowing for me. It was awesome, man. I mean, he was just, his voice is shaking a little bit, but God, it was just awesome to see him, man. And he stayed on stage for 3 hours straight. And he's like 76 years old, 70, He was just doing it for 3 hours, man. It was just mind-blowing,
He definitely, he got a lot of material, and I guess he.
Yeah, man.
I play some of that.
I play some of those tunes too, on my solo gig,
Okay.
I mean, some of those tunes are really great, really beautiful tunes,
Oh, cool. So what's the scene like around Greenville? I mean, I know the pandemic has shut everything down, but what was the scene like before that?
Well, honestly, there's not a whole lot of a scene. There just aren't many venues to play at, It seemed like it was starting to get a little bit better right before the COVID thing hit. I actually was looking forward to having some freelance gigs, and I was so surprised. I had like 5 or 6 months of gigs, freelance gigs, besides my hotel gig. At that time I was only doing, I think 1 night a week or 2. I don't remember, but I was starting to get gigs, and some of them are solo gigs and some of them were duo gigs, but there's just never been that much of a scene here, honestly. I mean, it's very small. It's a small city, I mean, first of all. But I mean, it's a nice place to live, but there's just not much of a scene, honestly. Asheville's about an hour away. Charlotte's about 2 hours away. And, of course, Atlanta's 2 hours away, Charleston, the coast, 3 hours. There's more. Some of those cities have a little bit more of a scene, as you might imagine, but it's kind of slow here, honestly. But there are a few really good musicians here, though, I have to say. In fact, one guy here used to play in Basie's band. His name is Moss Mack. Yeah, Moss. You know Moss?
Yeah,
I mean, he's a really great classic style saxophone player,
Right.
And he's still around. I don't see him that often, but he's still around,
Yeah, Moss was. I was working with a group, and he was on the way out of the group, and I think him and the bass player was on the way out, and they worked us into the group,
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I remember about him. He was such a great player.
Yeah.
And then that's when I knew he could work with Basie, back in the day. And I always wondered what he had done, what he decided to do, after he left the group,
Yeah.
And I lost track of it for a long time.
Yeah.
Until I saw a guy I was downtown at one of the hotels. I think it was a Hilton. And there was a guy that asked me if I knew a saxophone player named Moss. And I said,
Yeah.
I said, you mean from Greenville? He said, yeah. I said, yeah, I played with him a long time ago in a group. And he says, I asked him, was he still playing? So the guy said, yeah, he's still playing. He's just playing right there around Greenville. He didn't go back out on the road or anything.
Right.
So he must have stayed parked pretty much right there in Greenville all this time.
Yeah, I think he's been here all this time, man. And there used to be more work. I mean, there was more work, even if it wasn't all like jazz stuff. At least there was more stuff going on,
Oh yeah,
but
because
you know how the music business is, man.
Yeah,
you know how the music business is, man. It's just, it started off bad and it got worse, man.
Yeah, that's all.
I have a saying. This is my saying about the music business. It takes money to lose money.
Well, and you're gonna do that. That's for sure. You're gonna definitely do it.
But if you gotta do your thing, try to do your thing, and try to try to make a living, and I guess have to find the right niche.
Well, you know what it is. A lot of the musicians, they like the playing is so overwhelming in their souls until they don't go past that. In other words, they need to figure out, what else they can do, even in the field, to stay in the field be,
Right, right, right.
and still be viable. And a lot of them, they kind of like don't do that. And well, a
Yeah.
lot of them, a whole lot of them. And
That's
so
something
what
I need to
happens,
do better, man. Yeah.
yeah, especially all musicians need to do that better.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that they'll fit into the domestic world, the corporate world, anything like
Yeah.
that. Because it's too easy for them to tell somebody to go somewhere. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Especially
Yeah.
if they want them to do something in a corporate setting, so they won't be able to keep that job. That's for sure.
Yeah. Right, right.
But as far as in the music thing, a lot of it is because they've been so groomed into performing until the other aspects of the music got away from them.
Yeah.
And you can't do that now. Now this pandemic is bringing out a lot of things. The pandemic is bringing out a whole lot of things that musicians have to retool, so to say, to keep themselves in sync with everything else, and with themselves. So
right.
Even me myself, I'm looking forward to the comeback. Let's say it like that. And I know that the comeback is going to be a little, jittery at first.
Yeah,
but
right.
I look at around let's say 2022, 23,
maybe,
before you can actually put your feet down on the ground and start moving like you should. If everybody behaves now, that's what
right, exactly.
If they don't,
right.
We won't be able to do that.
I know I had COVID, man. I got sick. I just got over it. I mean, it was. I was lucky it wasn't too bad, but I know some people have gotten really sick and died. Of course, people have died from it.
Yeah.
But one thing about that whole the whole thing during COVID, one thing that it made me do. I mean, it didn't make me do it, but I took advantage of the opportunity to learn how to do a bunch of stuff. Like I said, I learned how to make that music course. I mean, I got on teachable.com and I built the whole thing myself. I made all the videos myself. I built the whole website myself. I've built my music website. If you go to my music website, I built that myself. And I've learned how to make videos and I put them online. And I've learned how to do a lot of stuff myself just because I had to do something, just to try to prepare for moving into a future where the music business is different than it has been.
Right. So, do you think coming out of this, how different would it be? Coming out of this, how different do you think the music would be, or will it be pretty much the same with just
Oh man,
faces?
I don't see how it can be the same. I mean, even the way it wasn't so great. I mean, like I mean, we're getting the same as far as just local type of gigs. You get paid the same you did 40 years ago, man.
Yeah.
And my friends in New York say the same thing. They're like, man, how can how now they can't even go on tour to make money, to make real money. They can't even do that,
Yeah.
So I don't really see it even. I don't know if it's even can go back to that. I think for one thing, people have more and more lost interest in live music, especially this kind of music that requires a little bit of attention span.
Right. They
I hate to
tend
say
to
it that way, but
they tend to entertain themselves now.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's so easy to go online and get, just get everything for free and sit in your house and watch stuff. And, so many people, I think don't even have that experience of what it's like to be in a room with some live music and feel the energy of it. I think especially young people that are coming up during this stuff, they're so used to just getting everything from, I think a lot of people are just not used to having that feeling of what it's like to sit there with some real musicians playing in front of them in like a relatively intimate space, like I play in the hotel lobby, I mean, something like that, where it's not a huge auditorium, but you're in the room with people live, I think a lot of people completely miss that experience, and don't just can't relate to it in a way,
Right. And Baum, what do you think, how do you think that's going to look?
I'm hopeful. Live music is so important to the lives of human beings anyway. Live performances.
We got to stay hopeful, Yeah. We got to stay
just
hopeful,
got to. You just got to.
Yeah.
And I just look at the difficulties right now in some of these venues just surviving.
Yeah.
The news that's coming out of New York about Blue Note. not being able
Yeah.
to find funds, and some
Yeah.
local musicians, well,
Yeah, the Jazz
international
Standard just
musicians,
closed down, you know. Yeah, the
yeah,
Jazz Standard just
Elvis
closed down in New
Costello
York, you know.
and
Yeah.
several other musicians,
Yeah.
primarily a couple of musicians other than Elvis Costello are trying to find funds to keep Blue Note alive in New
Yeah.
York.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
you know, it's a difficult struggle, you
Yeah.
know, but, you know, like I said, you got to stay hopeful, you know,
Yeah, we
and I
got to stay
think,
hopeful and yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't
yeah, I
mean,
think
Just
don't let
keep,
me interrupt you, man.
just got to keep the
no,
music playing.
it's just that, you know, I think people will still be hungry for live music. I just feel
I hope
that
so, you know.
because
I
they
hope
haven't
so.
seen it for so long.
Maybe it'll make people more live, more hungry for it, you know, from after being cooped up.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
they'll
agree.
be more live, more ready
Yeah.
for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
you know, they may even be ravenous at this point, you know,
yeah,
because
yeah,
being
yeah,
quarantined like we have
yeah.
been, and
Right,
not being able to get out and
right,
enjoy
right,
these things that we normally would do,
right.
you know,
Sure.
they're looking for it.
Yeah.
Keith, like I know you had, you mentioned you had like 3 CDs. Is there a place that people could, is there a place that people could go and pick up on some of your music, past or present?
Well, I mean, you can always go to my website, keithdavismusic.com. I have CDs for sale there, or you can. I have a place there. You can download stuff from Bandcamp, you know, and I have a page where you can, you know, you can link through to Bandcamp for my CDs on Bandcamp, or you can just go to Bandcamp, or you know, they're online. I mean, they're on. I guess you can find stuff on Amazon. I'm sure they're on Amazon, iTunes. I think I'm on Spotify. I know at least some of my music is on Spotify. So I mean, I'm out there online, you know, the usual places if you go looking for some of my music. Some of it's under my name, just my name, Keith Davis. And my first album, I put it out under Keith Davis Trio. Somebody said they couldn't find it; they had to add Trio to the search for it. But if you go to my website, you can. That's probably a good starting point, you know. And
That website again, what was that address for the website again?
It's keithdavismusic.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll pretty much point you in the direction of everything.
Yeah, that'll point to it. Yeah, I have a Taiji website too, Keith Davis Taiji with a J, Taiji. I haven't really spent as much time developing that one as I have the music website, but I'm gonna do more of that too. During COVID, I was teaching a little bit of qigong online. I was doing a live class online.
Right.
I did it for a couple months, I guess, and I just took a break from it because I wanted to redo my approach to how I was doing it, and then I've gotten busy doing other stuff, you know. But anyway, if you're in Greenville, you can come hear me play at the Western Poinsett on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays in the lobby bar. And I also play at a restaurant in Greenville called Hall's Chop House on Sunday, every other week on Sunday brunch. I trade with another guy, and we play. I play with a singer named Jamie Wright, who's a really good singer, and you know, we do like jazz tunes and a few pop tunes, and then she does one gospel set while we're there on Sunday mornings too. And with a bass player as well, old friend of mine, actually, Greg Alewine plays with us there as well. And so I'm lucky. I'm able to work a little bit, you know. A lot of people are not working at all. I know I'm really fortunate in a way, you know.
Right.
So
Vaughn, let everybody know how they can catch up with you.
Yeah.
Well, as usual, I'm at, you can find me at the jazzbeatsradio.com webpage.
Okay.
You just pull up the webpage and you'll see all the highlights of past and present articles and things like that, highlighting different artists, and, you know, pull up the personalities and see my picture there and see what my show is all about. And
That sounds great.
then you can also find me on my YouTube page, which is Soulscapes on Jazz Beats Radio. The name of my radio show is Soulscapes, and the name of the station is Jazz Beats Radio. And you can find my YouTube page right there. Subscribe, check it out. I'm always adding my playlist of my favorites and beyond on my jazz playlist there. And I have a Twitter page also, which is also Soulscapes, and Instagram, which
Yeah.
is at Von Cope.
Cool, man.
Well, you know, you can always catch me at yesjazzmatters.org, and that's of course the website. Go there and go through the entire pages from the donation page. And also finding out things that we're doing. We're putting together some virtual stuff as we speak, as far as concerts go, and all that information will be on the site. Also, like I said, the Jazz Matters store. We also want you to, of course, subscribe to us and like us on whatever your pages are, Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And we're glad to have old Keith here. I hadn't seen him in a long time. And we're back.
I'm honored, man. Thank you.
Yeah. And we're going to do some things. We'll open some stuff up, man, so that we can get you guys down here.
That sounds great, man. I look forward to it.
Yeah. Playing and stuff. Because I know it'll be a treat for sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Thank you, brother. Yeah.
And so what we're going to do is wrap this one up, and we'll get back with you. And Keith, take it easy, man. And
thank you, man.
And don't don't work out too hard.
Yeah.
Because you're the only musician, one of the only musicians I know that is working. So, don't work too hard.
That's right, man. Yeah. It's a pleasure to meet you too, Vaughn. Thank you, man.
My pleasure indeed. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
All right, peace. We out, man.
Yeah.